Hello and welcome to Joy Newsroom. My name is Beverly Broom. Coming up this afternoon, political parties are imploring the Electoral Commission of Ghana to extend the deadline for its ongoing limited registration exercise in spite of justifications by the election management body that it has met the targets for the exercise. Meanwhile, the Tamale South Member of Parliament, Harun Idrisu, has debunked the assertion that Parliament's failure to allocate more resources for the exercise is the reason for which the EC is unable to extend the exercise.
Now, I've heard the Electoral Commission also argue publicly that blame Parliament. No, they got it wrong. Parliament doesn't prepare budget for the Electoral Commission. Parliament doesn't prepare your financial estimates. What Parliament does is to consider your proposed estimate.
And later on in the bulletin, the World Health Organization says it has noticed a sharp rise in non-communicable diseases across the country. We'll hear from the agency, which says it is launching preventive measures to push for healthy living. I am Beverly Broom. Thanks so much for your time. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us. Thanks for choosing us. Now, some political parties are imploring the Electoral Commission of Ghana to extend the deadline for its ongoing limited registration exercise. Deputy Chairman of the Commission in charge of Corporate Affairs, Dr. Bosman Asari, disclosed in an interview with Joy News that his outfit had met the target of capturing 70,000 voters onto the electoral roll and that there will be no need for an extension of the timeline, which expires a couple of days. Now, Joy News' Nanaya Aljima reports that many registrants have been queuing for days to register.
Many continue to troop to the EC's office at Yeji to get registered in the limited voter registration exercise. Though the exercise started September 12, the number of applicants continues to increase at the center. Here are some applicants who have spent days in the line.
For instance, yesterday that I came here in the morning, but when I came, there was a whole lot of challenges that even I myself, I couldn't stand it. And I was also sick. As I'm talking, I'm a student. Yesterday, I didn't go to school because of this.
The process is very slow. Poor internet connectivity is also affecting the process. The queue doesn't move as expected.
Registration officials have alluded to poor internet connectivity as the reason for the slow pace of work. An option of offline registration is being avoided for fear of double registration. The Buem constituency has many traveling over the voter lake for the exercise. Despite the risk involved, it cost at least 150 cedis to make the journey to the district capital. Yet some have traveled more than twice.
There is no specific run rate for us to say that because we are doing 300 or 500 per day. Per the numbers we have, we can use maybe 20 days, we can use 10 days, we can use the next 5 days to complete the backlog. So EC should do something about what we are saying. It is quite serious.
Now, based on this situation, some political parties say given the backlog of queues at the registration centers, the EC would have to consider an extension.
Thinking, because EC should know that they got it wrong.
Okay.
You know, they got their calculations wrong because on a daily basis, the number keep increasing. The number of people they are registering keep on increasing. Every blessed day is going like this. It's going up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, like, I can give you about two constituencies.
Okay.
And then maybe one in Ashanti region, maybe one in the up north.
What happened there?
Yes.
What happened in?
You see that every blessed day, each one, the same trend. So if EC is telling us that they've met their target of registering 600,000 because they estimated 700,000, To me, then the exercise was like...
Look, initially, I think they were dealing with the 1.3 million, which was revised now to 700,000. But whichever ways, the explanation is this is a limited exercise. Wait for the next window that would open next year before we go in for the major elections.
So you see, it's trying to tell us that you want to deny some people who have attained the age of 18 or 19 who want to register and vote for the first time to at least exercise their franchise in the coming DLE or something like that.
Right.
Now, despite first-time voters being unable to participate in the upcoming district-level elections, there is still disagreement between the opposition NDC and the ruling NPP regarding the number of registration kits needed before the Election Commission can proceed with a limited registration exercise in Boku. Now, the Commission has ruled out any possibility for prospective voters to register in the ongoing voter registration exercise. Following disagreement between the two major political parties, the limited registration exercise was halted in the district following a confusion over citing of the registration kit. Now, joining me on phone is JoyNews Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert. Albert, how are the prospective registrants reacting to this decision of the EC?
Yes, so for many of these prospective voters, it is something of disappointment to them because they feel that as Ghanaians, they should have put in the measures that are necessary, despite the situation of Boko, to enable them to go through the registration process. But it appears that because of the disagreements that came up, and also because of the security situation surrounding following all these disagreements, the registration process was subsequently suspended. And so they feel disappointed about it. But there are those who also feel that if they are not going to be safe, going from their various homes to the registration centers, they would not take that chance to go and register. So these are some of the concerns that have come up.
Now, we understand some concerned stakeholders and chiefs have been working behind the scenes to deal with the situation. How true is this?
Yes, so the Electoral Commission has been engaging the NDC and the NDC, who are the main parties in all of this, because they are the two parties that had concerns regarding the setting up of one extra registration center. And so the Electoral Commission has been trying to engage them. At the end of the day, an agreement was made that the registration should continue. But from what they are learning, the Electoral Commission wanted them to put this in writing. They wanted it to be signed into a written agreement. One of the parties have said that they have signed the agreement, and the other party did not sign. And so it was the reason the Electoral Commission decided not to go ahead with the registration process. Just before I came on air, I spoke to both parties again, and what they are telling me is that the Electoral Commission has now officially communicated to them that it will not be continuing with the registration exercise from this point onwards.
Albert, what are the registrants saying?
So registrants are disappointed because despite all the disagreements and all the controversies that have come up, they feel that they could have put in measures. Government should have done more to enable them to go through the registration process. But it appears that that has not been done. So many of them are disappointed.
And have you spoken to the MP? What is he also saying about this?
We haven't been able to speak with the MP on this. In fact, we've also tried to talk to the Electoral Commission. Our efforts have not yielded any results. But at the beginning of all of this, when we spoke to the regional director of the Electoral Commission, what he said was that he didn't want to go into the details of the discussions that were going on for security reasons. But as I said, both parties this afternoon have spoken with the communications officers of both the NDC and the MPP, and they are telling me that as of yesterday afternoon, the Electoral Commission officially communicated to them that since they have not been able to reach an agreement as to how to proceed, the Electoral Commission will not be continuing with the registration exercise in the Boko municipality.
Right, thank you so much. Albert Soriza, Upper East Regional Correspondent, bringing us some update from Boko. But let's still stay on this development as NDC Communications Director for Boko Central, Yusuf Otumba, joins us via Zoom. Yusuf, thank you so much for your time here. Has your party reversed the decision that you would only accept the exercise to be organized if the EC would deploy 4 kits in the district? Hello, Yusuf. Please kindly unmute for me.
Hello. Yes, let me say good afternoon to your cherished viewers, if you can hear me. And
it's loud and clear.
Once again.
Right.
Yes, thank you once again for the opportunity offered to me to explain. I think we have spoken about this issue. And then we think that this whole thing is much ado about nothing. The Electoral Commission, for God's sake, we don't know what is actually pushing them to exaggerate this whole situation. From the beginning, we made proposals, and the proposals were simple. These proposals were initiated by no less a person than the district director of the Electoral Commission. And the proposals were as follows. Because of the situation we find ourselves in Boko, it is difficult for some people to access the Electoral Commission's district office. And how do we cure this problem? To cure this problem, we need 4 registration machines. That is all we need. With the 4 registration machines, 1 machine will be taken to the Boko Township to cater for those who will not be able to access the Electoral Commission's office. Another machine will be taken to the Bisa Enclave. It is an area dominated by Bisas, far distance from the Boko Township. And because they are not a party to this whole conflict, they are scared coming to the district elections office for registration. So the Electoral Commission needs to find a way to get a machine to cater for this group of people. And then thirdly, they also need to get another machine to cater for the people of the Koka Zabugu electoral area. These are a huge population that will not be able to access the district elections office to get themselves registered because of the situation that we find ourselves. That is the only way to solve the problem in Boko. But if the Electoral Commission says that because we have refused to accept or to sign onto a certain agreement, because of that, they are going to hold the entire exercise, including the mandatory exercise they are supposed to be running in their own office. I think it is very strange to us. And then it makes the whole thing very murkier when we see that it is just a storm in a teacup. My sister, with 4 registration machines, this problem is resolved. To begin to attribute these whole things to about a certain tensions in the township and a whole lot of issues, we think that we are on the grounds, we understand the situation perfectly. What the Electoral Commission should do is to provide the 4 machines to solve the problem. This was a proposal that initially came from the district election director. But what shocked us as a political party and why we have refused to accept any agreement is that we cannot, under any circumstance, accept any condition that will deny the people of Koka-Zabugu electoral area a machine for them to get registered. We cannot accept any condition that will deny the people of the Bisa belt a machine for them to get registered. So if we make proposals, and then at the end of the day, the Electoral Commission decide to send a machine to only the township, leaving out the people of Koka-Zabugu electoral area and the people of the Bisa belt, we see this as very unfair. We see it as a very discriminatory treatment that as a political party represented a huge lot of people. We should not be seen accepting this. The Electoral Commission understood our language from day one. We are not in any case saying that no registration to take place. In fact, it will be to our benefit to see that our brothers and sisters who have attained the ages of 18 and above, and those who could not register, though they have exceeded 18 for one or two reasons, are able to register. That will be good news to all of us. But if the Electoral Commission decided to abandon its mandate under Article 45 of the 1992 Constitution, and then begin to say that once the NDC and the MPP have not given them the permit, they will not be able to carry out the registration exercise, it baffles us. In the first place, we don't even have that powers to guarantee the Electoral Commission and their people they go ahead to go conduct any elections. That mandate, that power, that authority, it doesn't lie on it. So if the Electoral Commission think that, well, we need to have the registration carried out in Boku, all they need to do, as we have said, you see, it appears they are not telling the story as it is. And they are creating a non-existent tension and misinforming people across the country. What the real situation is in Boku can be solved by the Electoral Commission. All they need to do is that if they are able to provide one machine for the people living within the township, they should as well provide 2 additional machines to take care of the people living at the Bisa Belt and to take care of the people of Kokazabwe electoral area. From
right, Mr. Yusuf, not to cut you, but don't you think that the NDC is intentionally holding the process to ransom?
I think that, on the contrary, we should be praised for asking the Electoral Commission to go strictly by CR 91 as amended. And what does that say? That the Electoral Commission, per its own rules, should be conducting the registration at its own office. But if for the situation we have in Boko, and the Electoral Commission in its own wisdom is looking for a solution to the problem, what they should do is to listen to the NDC. We are not asking the Electoral Commission to stop the registration exercise. In fact, we deem that as an abuse of power. We deem that as a misapplication of the mandate that has been granted the Electoral Commission by the 1992 Constitution. We think that the best way to resolve this issue is for the Electoral Commission to do as we have requested. How will anybody on earth feel that because of the conflict situation in Boku, one area is given a machine to assist them to get registered, whilst other people who equally have similar challenges are denied the same treatment, simply because somebody thinks that the NDC doesn't want the exercise to be carried out. In any case, Boku Central, as we all know, is an NDC area. No matter the situation, the MPP, they can do all they can, but they can't survive in Boku Central. But we cannot, under any circumstance, encourage the Electoral Commissioner to begin to do things out of their own rules. So we are not stopping the registration exercise. In fact, we are rather calling on the Electoral Commissioner to, as a matter of urgency, resume the registration of members of the Boku Central constituency. We rather see the stop and the halting of the exercise as unconstitutional. We see it as a denial of the fundamental rights of the people to have the right to registration and to participate in the political process of this country. So the NDC from day one, we have made voice clear. But when you listen to the Electoral Commission and they tell their story in Accra, it appears we are doing one thing here, and a different story is being told in Accra, as if there are people who are throwing bombs, and as a result of that, we are unable to have registration. No, we are just looking at the situation. What we cannot accept, and I repeat, what we cannot accept as a party is to see the Electoral Commission, as a result of the conflict situation, take a machine to one area and deny people who equally deserve to be treated in the same way and deny them that same treatment. We see that to be very discriminatory. We think that the Electoral Commission in doing so should rather have something that we are not aware of behind their minds that we are not aware of. So if they want to have the registration start, we are ready, we are available, but they should do what is right.
Right. Mr. IC, what's going to be your next line of action if the EC does not heed?
Find the brands, inspiration, and great value you need to own your style at Macy's VIP sale, going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off fall trends and updates. Plus 15% off go-to beauty, skincare, and fragrances. Plus shop specials and find great deals on top brands at Macy's VIP sale. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
To your calls.
Let me say that the Electoral Commission, they are listening. We want to believe that they are listening to the voice of wisdom. And then the calls we have made. Nobody is impeding on the Electoral Commission to carry out the registration exercise. We think we are rather turning the whole thing upside down. They should be blamed, not us. In the first place, it is not for us to guarantee Electoral Commission to do exercise or not to do. So we still think that they are listening to us. But if the Electoral Commission fails to perform their duties as enshrined in Article 45 of the 1992 Constitution and to guarantee the right to vote, which also begins with the right to get registered by the Electoral Commission as a political party, we think that the legal avenues are available to us. We can exercise that. Right. And then we are not going to allow the Electoral Commission to get away with this, to just sit down and decide that, for one or two reasons, I'm not going to register a group of people simply because we are abrogating our authority to political parties to determine how registration should be done, simply because the NDC have refused to write a document. Why should we write a document to commit the Electoral Commission to do something that we do not even have the powers to do in the first place? It is not.
Right. Thank you so much. Yusuf Otumba is NDC Communications Director. Thank you so much for your time here. Meanwhile, Tamale South MP Haruna Idrisu is discrediting assertions that Parliament's failure to appropriate appropriately adequate funds is the reason for which the EC is unable to extend the decision. Haruna Idrisu says Parliament does not prepare the Commission's budget. He was speaking on Newsfile a while ago.
I've had the rare privilege to chair even sessions of approval of the EC budget. At least I should say, thanks to the late Basua, the MP for Kumau, who was chairman and I was vice chair. Then I was chairman Mensa Bonsu and my good self. And we do have soft spot for independent constitutional bodies. So I'll respond to it. Now, I've heard the Electoral Commission also argue publicly that blame Parliament. No, they got it wrong. Parliament doesn't prepare budget for the Electoral Commission. Parliament doesn't prepare your financial estimates. What Parliament does is to consider your proposed estimate for purpose of approval and for purpose of allocating money. So if you say that blame Parliament, what did you submit before the Special Budget Committee? Don't forget, Samson, even this right.
Are they blaming?
How come? Yes, I've heard them publicly say that blame Parliament, that Parliament didn't do allocation.
Can suggest to them if what they bring to you,
and I say we have.
It's not enough.
I'm sure even the last session of the EC budget, I probably chaired or vice chaired the committee. We are saying that 2020, 21, 22, 23. It's only in 23 you are conducting a limited voter registration exercise. Why? That itself is a constitutional wrong.
Now, opinions remain divided over the impact of the decision by former Trade and Industry Minister to resign from the governing New Patriotic Party. The presidential hopeful explained at the launch of his new political movement in Accra that the governing NPP has been hijacked by a select few within the party, a situation which is contrary to the ideals of the NPP he worked for all these years so long. However, speaking on Newsfile, a member of the NPP communications team, Nana Kumia, cast doubts about Alan's political victory should he stand as an independent candidate in the presidential election next year.
It is highly regrettable that he's choosing this path. I mean, Alan is a stalwart of the NPP. And the reason why it is regrettable is that it is not going to help him. And potentially, it could also hurt his party. So what is the point? I mean, certainly, Alan Martin, by this movement, is not going to win the presidential elections. I mean, he's not going to win. What he may do, depending on how the campaign goes, what he may do is that he may affect the chances of the NPP. So then what would he have achieved? He hurt himself and hurt his party. What is the point? That's why I say it is regrettable and that the party needs to engage with him so that he can come back.
You sincerely think there's an opportunity for him to return?
But and you see, Samson, incidentally, we are talking about the same person. He did the same thing in 2008. The same thing.
He didn't escalate it to this point.
Yes, but he resigned. And then efforts were made to get him back. He rebuffed those efforts. You remember? The Darocha, the first chairman of the... And then later on, when Akufo-Addo himself got involved in all of that, he came back. So it's still possible. And it's still possible with Bawumia.
He says he's the only man of integrity that Ghana needs now. You don't think that would be suicidal on the question of integrity if he changes his mind at this time?
Who doesn't change his mind?
He will have no
who doesn't change his mind? In any case,
nobody will take him serious.
Sorry?
Again. Nobody will take him serious.
2008, then 2023, you somersault twice and you say you are rethinking your position. Politically suicidal.
Samson, who doesn't change his mind? But what is done to is politically suicidal. What is done is politically suicidal to him. And it could affect his party, you know. And you see, the reason why I believe he should come back is that the basis for his resignation and forming another party, there's no basis. The basis don't hold much water.
But lead strategist for Alan's movement for change, Duke Aaron Sasu, thinks otherwise. Let's listen to him.
Interests of the political establishment do all they can to undermine Alan's, the viability of Alan's independent candidature. And we all know that it's beneficial to the political establishment to continue to perpetuate the duopoly within the system generally. And that is kind of important here to people, because they know the distinct character and distinct persona of Alan and what he brings on board this political game. And the fact is that anybody who has encountered him knows that he is surely not just taking an action, and he knows exactly what he is doing. But also, let me make a quick comment about what Honorable Haruna says, that Alan has only endorsed change, and that Mahama probably represents that change. I just wanted to say that is it the same Mahama who told the graduates that he is not a magician to be creating jobs for them, as to whether he is the same Mahama who represents that level of change for young people in this country. And that is a conversation we would have to have. And most importantly, why does this work? Why does Alan's independent candidature work? What I think the panelists and people are ignoring is that quite distinct from Alan's strategy is that he says that I'm running as an independent candidate, but he models his campaign after a similar situation that happened in Kenya in 2013, the Jubilee Alliance in 2013, where Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto formed what they call the Jubilee Alliance. Quite fundamental in that alliance is that it pitched the candidates far beyond their individual persons. So that when you are buying into Alan's ideas, there is a buying of an association far greater than the individual himself. So you are buying into a movement for change that is distinct from whatever independent candidature you have seen before. The conviction that no matter how abysmal a party's performance in government, the NDC under Mahama for 4 years or 6 years, also and probably the current perception of the governance and the MPP, they will still have people who will still vote for them in that regard, is really a problem. One, you cannot assume in that regard. Essentially because the political climate is one that is calling for change. Patrice Talon in Benin faced the same challenges where people felt that it was impossible. Our political climate showed that people, no matter how they had been attached historically to political parties, were willing to change. And most importantly, let me just pass this comment that possibly if Kwame Nkrumah had not left the UGCC as a party, Ghana wouldn't have gained our independence as then. It took him exiting the party in principle for us to gain our independence. the people in the Pentecost Church, led by Jesus Mama Apion, have showed us that it takes a bold decision to leave a system to pursue your own agenda to become the Pentecost Church far greater than what the Apostolic Church represented in that regard. But also, the duopoly of the NDC and the NPD, is in their current forms, are actually not representative of the ideals that promote the national discourse or interest at large. So, for example, there is a multifaceted opposition to whatever any party brings.
You're still watching Joy Newsroom on the Joy News channel with me, Beverly Boom. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us.
Once every year, the finest marketing minds from across Ghana gather to recognize, reward brilliance in the field of marketing, celebrate their works, and connect. This year, the prestigious Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana presents the 34th edition of the annual National Marketing Performance Awards under the theme, Marketing, a Tool for Economic Recovery. Guest of honor, Professor Abednego Fehi Okoya-Mate, Vice Chancellor, University of Professional Studies Accra. The date, 30th September. The venue, Labadi Beach Hotel. The time is 7 p.m. For corporate table reservations, call Nana on 055-274-6592 or 0242-307-801. Come join us, wine, dine, award, and celebrate all night long. CIMG, marketing means business. CIMG, working for Ghana.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Halide commonly used in cloud seeding. Yes. Alfred?
Silver iodide.
You're right. Second clue, 4 points.
Welcome back. Now, when lack of hospital bed resulted in a delayed surgery for Rachel and Peter's son, causing permanent disability, they channeled the situation into an avenue to help other parents and children. Their son, who is unable to walk now, is also part of the move. Here's the story by Hannah Odame.
Meet Lily, a compassionate soul whose life took an unexpected turn. In her youth, the world was her oyster. Her dreams were as vast as the sky. Eager and thirsty for knowledge, she traveled abroad for her studies and was poised to take on the world after her studies. But fate had a different plan. A tragic automobile accident changed the course of Lily's life, leaving her paralyzed. The world she once knew seemed distant and challenging.
I went to school in Tatus Taba. I went to Holy Child. I went to UCC. And then traveled to Scotland to do some, to work and then do some studies. I worked with American Field Service. And I was in charge of community service for teenagers abroad, between 18 and 25 years. They come to do voluntary work in institutions, orphanages and schools.
For 7 long years, in and out of the hospital, Lily grappled with the reality of her circumstances. The hospital became her second home as she nursed herself back into good health.
I was in and out of hospital for 7 years. I'm receiving therapy in between, and then receiving treatment, and then undergoing surgeries. I can't describe them. Some days I'm up, some days I'm down, some days I don't want to do anything. It's a cocktail of emotions. It's not sad or every time, not happy every time. Sometimes angry, sometimes disappointed, sometimes depressed.
Her brother Ernest describes those moments as very challenging for the family as well.
It affects me because there are places I would have wished her to go herself. There are people I would have wanted her to see herself, but like you are saying, she finds it difficult, one, because of her situation, two, because she's very emotional.
It was in those moments of solitude and reflection that Lily found her purpose. Supported by her pastor and some dear friends, she founded the Share Foundation. The Share Foundation aims to light up the lives of brilliant yet needy children, providing them with the necessary support to navigate their education and actualize their dreams.
He helped me to start with identifying the needy but brilliant in the schools, register them, and then the teachers and the head teachers. And we had volunteers who came to teach them. And then we organized the exams, and they marked them, and then we chose the beneficiaries who had excelled.
Jonathan Kwanzaa is one of the beneficiaries of Share Foundation. Lily helped fund his education from basic school to the tertiary institution. Before that, he had no hope of completing school.
Until I lost.
I always go to church. I prayed that one day I will walk.
9-year-old Cornelius Kwabena Adom, who loves to sing and play the keyboard, was born with a deformity. Diagnosed with spina bifida from birth, his parents got a shock when they were told their son may not be able to walk if a repair surgery was not done on him in the first 14 days of his life.
They came for assessment and they were telling us the surgery too, sometimes after doing it, it's either sometimes you will lose the lower limbs and other things, so it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for both of us in the family, but we tried our best to trust and pray.
Spina bifida can happen anywhere along the spine if the neural tube does not close all the way. When this happens, the backbone that protects the spinal cord doesn't form and close as it should. Rahel Adom, mother of Cornelius and a nurse, read all about this illness and knew about the consequences, and so she quickly gathered the 3,000 cedis needed for the surgery before the ultimatum given by the doctors expired. But getting a bed at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital for the surgery became the bane. After waiting for a month, he had a blood infection which had to be treated first. When that was done and the repair surgery was about to be conducted, it was too late, and Cornelius was left with no luxury of walking. All the doctors could do was close the bulge at his back and a shunt placed in his skull to prevent his head from becoming enlarged, as well as to prevent fluid from retaining in his head.
At the end of the day, he survived, and I think from 7 months we have been going for reviews. And Cornelius was doing perfectly because we were trusting God. So I think from day one after the surgery, we have been communicating to him. Before he will even be born, the father named him Cornelius. So I even speak to Cornelius, you are going to be great. Because Cornelius in the Bible was a great man. He was an army commander. So no matter whatever you are going through, you will survive.
After experiencing the dire circumstances under which parents with such situations face, Rahel and her husband founded the Challenged Children Foundation to aid children and parents alike.
We have the cerebral palsy, the autism, then disability to those who cannot walk like Cornelius, yes. But the autism and cerebral palsy are more.
So how are you taking care of all of them?
By the grace of God. We manage. My husband and the family have to cut down our expenses and come down to help them. Sometimes I buy rice in bulk, we buy things in bulk, then we share for them. Sometimes let's have a food bazaar or whatever. We cook, then they come around to eat, and we package down some for them. And my husband was so understandable when I told him that why don't we set a foundation to help so that when we legalize it, people will come on board. Probably where our strength cannot reach, with one family and friends, we can come together.
Usually, it is thought the fathers aren't that supportive when such incidences happen. But Peter Jamina Adom, father of Cornelius, is different.
When he started sending him to VCO, it's only the women who bring the children. No man. But sometimes I go with them. So it is there that I realize that it is the women who are suffering, who are taking care of a child. All the men, you don't see them around.
So now that you have seen it, what have you got to tell them?
Oh, I'm telling the men that they don't have to abandon the children. It is not their fault. So they have to at least love them, do whatever they can to support them. Mm-hmm.
Cornelius, who desires to visit the Great Wall of China, says, though his back always aches, he's grateful to his friends and family who always make him happy.
I did not know why I could not walk, so I decided to encourage myself by playing the keyboard. And I also decided to encourage others that if I can make it, all of the disability people can make it. And I believe that they can make it and make it well.
Say hello.
Rahel has dedicated her life to helping children with disability enjoy the good things of life. And Mr. Adum wants everyone to know that disability is not a curse.
It's not easy taking care of such children. It takes both the two. They have to be behind the women, support them, and then make sure that they will have a better life.
We give you glory, Lord, as we honor you.
Hannah Odami for Joy News.
Wonderful. You are worthy, oh Lord. You are wonderful. You are worthy, oh Lord.
Now, the National AIDS Control Program says the high level of health workers' migration in Ghana is significantly impeding HIV response across the country. Program Manager, the National AIDS and STI Control Program, Dr. Stephen Aisiado, tells Joy News that aside from funding gaps, the mass exodus is creating human resource shortfalls need to ensure quality health care. Stephen A.C. Addo was speaking during the opening of a 3-day integrated biological and behavioral surveillance training workshop in Accra. The following report has more.
The 3-day workshop, held under the theme Role of CSOs in the Integrated Biological Behavioral Surveillance Survey, IBBSS, convened 30 CSOs from Ghana, West and Central Africa under the auspices of Ghana HIV and AIDS Network, Garnet. Speaking to the press on the sidelines, the country director of UNAIDS, Hector Secula Perez, explained that the objective is to train CSOs to appreciate and utilize data in the HIV response.
This training, as you can see, is to collaborate with the civil society organizations working on HIV in Ghana to strengthen their capabilities, to be able to understand, analyze, and use strategic information coming from surveys to advocate for the HIV response, to address all these issues and to solve all these challenges in the next years, from now to 2030. We need to push all together to have enough and adequate and sufficient financial resources to work on the HIV response.
Dr. Stephen A.C. Addo, the program manager at the National AIDS and STI Control Program, reiterated that inadequate human resources and the exodus of nurses are hindering the HIV response in Ghana.
Despite the fact that we're making the effort, the agents to propagate are limited in numbers and sometimes knowledge. So by far, if you take aside issues of commodity, you take aside issues of the equipment and logistics and all that, human resources issue is a major issue. In the health sector, we're training people, they are leaving. We want to, through tax sharing, with the capacity of civil society to help, because the problem is generated in society, and society must play a role in solving it. So we're having a very difficult situation. We have taken up the challenge to train them, because most of these are not health workers, they are lay people. So we have to bring the knowledge to their level, and we hope that if they take up the challenge, they will complement the government's health system, and they will be able to fill some of the gaps.
Meanwhile, the president of Ghana HIV and AIDS Network, Garnet, Ernest Otten, emphasized funding as a major threat impeding the work of CSOs in the fight against the disease.
Funding has been a major issue. We all know the economic situation in the country at the moment, so we are not getting the needed resources from the government. Much of the funds being used now are coming from a global fund and other international partners like the UNAIDS and USAID and other institutions that are helping us in this fight. Civil society organizations, we have advocated for government to activate the National HIV and AIDS Fund, because we already have a law backing this particular fund, but government has been very slow in activating the fund.
Ghana's goal of achieving the 2030 target of 95-95 could be at risk if the issues of health worker exodus and funding gaps are not addressed. Carlos Caloni's report for Joy News.
Now, the World Health Organization says it has noticed a sharp rise in non-communicable diseases across the country. According to the agency, 43% of such health conditions are accounting for the country's mortality rate. In view of this, the World Health Organization in Ghana says it is initiating a number of preventive measures that will seek to change unhealthy lifestyles. Dr. Joanne Anson works with the World Health Organization in Ghana.
So for non-communicable diseases, the burden basically is precipitated by a number of what we call the modifiable risk factors, which includes issues related to obesity, physical inactivity, tobacco use, even air pollution, and a number of factors. I say modifiable because these can be addressed through what we call the lifestyle modifications. And so if we target like obesity, then it's really important that we really promote physical activity. Physical activity, not necessarily formal physical activity, going to the gym or any activity that will make you move around is what we are trying to promote. Even at subnational level in our communities, you can organize, community walks, or even working in your gardens or working on your farm. Anything that promotes movement, we want to encourage the general public to get themselves involved. Because in actual fact, we are having what we call the triple burden of disease. We have issues related to communicable disease, that's the malarias and the HIVs and such. And then we have an emerging trend, which is the burden of non-communicable diseases. In Ghana, we have a high burden, relatively high burden, and 43% of contribution to mortalities is as a result of non-communicable diseases. And we see physical activity as just a very simple, cost-effective strategy and approach to really reduce the burden of non-communicable disease.
Now, the Member of Parliament for Achimakwaoma, Kofi Amankwa-Menu, is collaborating with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to construct a 26-unit classroom block and a 10-seater toilet facility for some selected underprivileged schools. Here's more in this report.
Some underprivileged beneficiary schools include Kochi, Echimakokobeng, and Fasi DA primary schools in the Echimakwaoma district. Lack of infrastructure means congested classrooms, impacting teaching and learning negatively.
No, Kokobeng has a lot of students in the school, but we lack facilities, more especially classrooms, library, computer lab, and then toilet facilities. Because of lack of facilities, some students attend school at other places. But this time around, when the facilities is handed over to us, they will be able to accommodate all of them.
To solve this problem, the MP for the area, who doubles as Deputy Minister of Defense, Kofi Amankwa-Menu, and the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints have teamed up to build some classroom blocks and a toilet facility for affected schools. District Director of Education for Echimakwaoma, Joyce Ofori, told a sword-cutting ceremony the projects are in response to an appeal from her directorate.
They were sitting in a dual desk, 3 or 4 people in a classroom. They were very full, whereby the teacher cannot get a place to stand to teach. So we wrote to the MP to help the districts. And with the help of the Latter-day Saints, they came to inspect the district and the schools there. And they found out that what I said is true. So they came to for us to write. And we went around to inspect the project, and they realized that we actually need the classroom.
Member of Parliament for the area, Kofi Amankwa-Menu, says concerted efforts will be made to ameliorate classroom infrastructure deficits.
For me, Echimakwaoma has a lot of problems, and one person cannot do it all alone. And so it became necessary for me to approach the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with, the problems we have. And when I sat down with them, they listened to me and did a follow-up to the district or the constituency. This is not the first time they are doing this for us. They've already done a couple of projects in this district, but what they have done today, it's mind-boggling. When I approached them One would have thought that, a church member will be the one to benefit from all this. I am not a church member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm a Methodist, but I approach them, they listen to me, and look at the wonders they are doing for Achumako Angoma. I am so grateful. Already we have some toilet facilities constructed already. We are yet to commission them.
The project is expected to be completed in 6 months. Clinton Yeboah's reports for Joy News.
Now, with Ghana expanding its aviation market, Ethiopian Airlines says it is open to collaborate with government and other partners to push the sector. According to Chief Commercial Officer of Ethiopian Airlines, Lemar Gudeta, his outfit is looking forward to servicing other regional airports in Ghana in the coming days. He was speaking to a section of journalists.
The second edition of the National E-Commerce Forum and Exhibition is a
We used to get engaged with the government of Ghana on establishment of a national carrier here. We participated in the bid, and we were one of the companies shortlisted to go for further discussion. And there are issues that happened in between, but Ethiopian Airlines feels that it is our national obligation as an African to support any startup national carriers in Africa. Therefore, whenever the Ghanaian government is ready and if they believe that Ethiopian Airlines can make a difference, we will be more than happy to assist, because it's not about business or commercial venture. It is all about making Africa self-sufficient in air transport. Therefore, it is strongly our obligation, and we will be more than happy to be part of a journey that the Ghanaian government is going to do in establishing the national carrier.
And that's how we end Joy Newsroom this afternoon. For more news, you can head to myjoyonline.com. My name is Beverly Broom. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.